Welcome once again to Retire Smart Maryland with Ozzie Culhagil and Prashant Sabapathi. They are the co-founders of Elite Income Advisors right here in Maryland. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. Thank you for joining us. Gentlemen, how are you doing? Ozzie, I'll start with you. How's your week?
I'm doing excellent. The week is going great. And we are here with you, with the show.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
I appreciate it. Prashant, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic.
No place I'd rather be.
This is a wonderful program that you both have put together. We call this Retiring with Choice. And I think we hear that phrase a lot. We don't want to be a burden. We don't want to be a burden on our kids or our spouse or our community.
Yep.
And retiring with choice is going to give us all kinds of different options. But to do that, I think we do have to address the financial choices that go into that. So there's a lot. Is this something that hits home for you, when talking about retiring with choice? Absolutely,
it does. With specifically, you mentioned not wanting to be a burden, right? And I think that's such an important thing because, you know, I know it's in my family. My mother's going through a kind of a nursing care event. Spike, I know it's in your family. I mean, I'm sure a lot of our TV, you know, audience are concerned about that, or they've been through it personally. I gotta think 2 out of the 3 of us on this panel have had to deal with some kind of a nursing care event.
So you have a mother in a long-term care facility.
Yeah.
I have 2 grandmothers who have been going through that experience right now, and you know, that's just 2/3 of us right here.
Yeah.
I think it's happening to millions of Americans across the country.
Absolutely.
Wondering how to deal with it financially, mentally, physically. And folks, know it might not seem like a fun conversation of a show, but we're going to go through some solutions and some ideas. And this show is incredibly important to everyone out there because I'm going to ask you one very simple question. Raise your hand out there if you have a mother or a sister or a spouse or a niece. We all have women in our lives, and this issue is important to all of us. So I want all of us to stay tuned to this show. It is important to consider long-term care because, quite frankly, between men and women, who lives longer?
Women. Yeah. All the statistics say we're probably going to go first, right? So if there is longevity with, you know, everybody seems to be living longer, but certainly women tend to live longer than men. And if we end up in a situation where, heaven forbid, it's like my mom, where you have home health care or nursing home care, you know, she was diagnosed at 57 years old with dementia, you know, and so she could live 20 years since the date of her diagnosis. Well, there's a tremendous financial cost that comes to that. So I know we want to go through a couple of different things that people should be considering as they head for. And I really kind of want to...
Yeah, I was going to ask you which things to consider, but real quick on that point, I just want to bring it out. I don't know if you've had any clients who have gone into long-term care, or if you prepared them, but this is something I'm also hearing more frequently, is that a lot of folks think of long-term care as something way down the road.
Yeah.
I had a phone call like that recently. Somebody I knew, their spouse was going to have to go into long-term care. I think they were around 62 or 63.
Yeah.
So it can also happen from an automobile accident, where there are more safety measures now in automobiles that, thankfully, crashes aren't as fatal. But we might need some sort of long-term care. So, Ozzie, when do you start talking to clients or prospects when they come in about long-term care? Is this something to wait further down the road, or do you start this in the first couple of meetings?
Today. You have to start today.
Today, right now.
You have to start. You have to start talking today, because most of the time the people make the mistake. What I see is they come in, they become a client, and it goes through, and they are 65 to 67 years old, and they need a long-term care, and they didn't plan for it. Then what? You know, they say, oh, how about if we get a long-term care policy? But you're 67 years old and you're already in the phase of needing a care from someone that needs to take care of you. The cost is a lot. So what I say is, why don't we start looking at it today? When you are 55, 56, 57 years old, the cost is minimal, but the exposure that we are going to get in our lifetimes is going to be huge if we can take care of today versus let's wait, when we get older.
And from what I understand, there's all different kinds of tools now, almost like a Swiss Army knife. They can provide different things like insurance or annuity or long-term care. We'll go into those a little bit further in the program. Before we even start going into long-term care, what are maybe some of the things to consider if we need to start answering that question?
So I can kind of answer this from a personal standpoint. I think one thing is who is actually going to take care of you, right? I think a lot of times people start to think about the nursing home and the assisted living and everything else, but at the end of the day, what do you want to have happen? So when we went through this with Mom, it was very important to us that we have a network of caregivers that we've built a relationship with over the years, and we wanted to keep that in place as Mom went through her care, right? We wanted that to be done at home. So you should have an idea of, number one, who's going to be able to take care of you? Who do you want to be able to take care of you? Number two is, where are you going to be? Have you thought about the nursing home option or the home health care option or the assisted living? It all comes down to, what do you want when you enter that situation?
And we call it retiring with choice. Yeah. Now, Ozzie, I know that your plan is to have Prashant take care of you, but have you asked him about this yet? Have you gotten his permission?
I wish you didn't open the subject right now, because that was really my plan. Like, I'm a couple years, older than him.
Okay,
and, I do believe that he will take care of me.
Make sure you get that in writing.
But what about relying on friends or family?
Yeah.
This is difficult, isn't it?
It's very difficult. And what we need to look at it is, maybe we should consider either a life long-term care policy or a long-term care policy, some type of things that can take care of us down the road. And most of the time, the people think about, when they talk about a long-term care policy, they're afraid, because they remember the policies back in the days, our, parents had it and grandparents had it. So what that policy was, either use it or lose it. And the people buy the policies, pay the premiums, then they die, and all the money is poof, it's gone. But that's not the choice today. We have a lot of choices. What we call is, like, we have hybrid policies, life insurance / long-term care. We use it, it's good. If we don't use it, at least that money can go for some other stuff or our heirs.
I completely remember when I started in the industry, it was long-term care was an all-or-nothing solution. And they were able to raise their rates, sometimes 200, 400, 500%.
Yeah.
And so folks would come to live education events, and they would say, can they do this? Is this legal? I'm like, yeah, they're doing the actuary tables, and so you have to decide whether you want to pay that or not. But what you're saying is, you now know of, and they're just all over the place, there's all different kinds of hybrid types of solutions. Let's talk a little bit more about that when we get back from the break. The Retire Smart Roadmap. Do you address long-term care inside there?
We have to address long-term care in the Retire Smart Roadmap. So when we put this roadmap together, Ozzie talked about life long-term care hybrid. We talked about annuities briefly. But remember, your roadmap is not a product, okay? Your retirement is really a process, not a product. And so when we put together this Retire Smart Roadmap for you, it's totally complimentary. You give us a call, it's 833-308-5200, or you take out your cell phone and take a picture of this barcode, and you'll be able to schedule some time to come visit with us. And when you come in, we're going to go through what your concerns are. If you're concerned that you're not going to have those choices when it comes to your retirement, this is why we put that roadmap in place. We'll take a look at your income. We'll take a look at your investments to make sure that you're not taking on unnecessary risk. And we'll take a look at how we can protect you against a long-term care event, whether it's a nursing home or an assisted living. So pick up the phone, give us a call, take a picture of the barcode, and come in and visit with us. And let's get to work in putting your customized roadmap together today.
I can't see any reason right now why anyone would wait to at least get the information to see, is your income going to last? Do we need to consider long-term care? And the much less expensive and hybrid versions of long-term care that you can find out there. We're going to talk about those different kind of policies when we get back. Call the phone number you see right here, 833-308-5200. More Retire Smart Maryland with Ozzie and Prashant when we get back right after this.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland with Ozzie Culhagil and Prashant Sabapathi. I'm Spike Spengel, and we're talking about retiring with choice today. Choice and not burdening our family members, our friends, even our spouses. And our loved ones might be well-meaning. We might be well-meaning and wanting to take care of our spouse. But there's a lot that goes into it. There is the physical burden.
Yeah.
You know, maybe when we're talking about taking care of our parents who need to go into a facility, maybe into their late 80s, that child might be in their late 60s, right? Or mid-60s.
Right.
You know, are we prepared at that time to physically be taking care of our parents, to mentally and financially? I mean, we know what the care costs are, but you were saying before that policies are different today. I'd like a little bit more background on that. What exactly did you guys mean?
So when we think about those older long-term care policies, there were two things that stood out about them. You mentioned one of them, which was you would purchase like a bag of cash from an insurance company and you would pay this premium. And if you ever got sick, they'd start taking money out of that bag of cash to pay for your care. Well, you mentioned it. Overnight, they could go and increase the cost of that insurance policy. Well, that's a huge deal. If we're trying to plan for your income in retirement and we don't know how much your insurance premiums are going to increase by, it creates a pretty big inefficiency in the planning process. So that was number one. Number two was user lose, right? Ozzie mentioned it before, but what if I paid all these years for this long-term care policy and then I just live to be 95 years old and pass away of natural cause, right? Did I just pay for a benefit that I never actually got to utilize? Yeah, and that was a huge concern. So how things have changed in this day and age is the policies these days, they're not use or lose. If you just live to a ripe old age and then you pass away a natural cause, that money of all that premium that you paid in goes to a beneficiary and it passes income tax free, which is pretty sweet. And the second thing is that the premiums are fixed, so we can fit that into your lifetime income plan, which is a part of that Retire Smart roadmap.
Now, where on the internet or where does somebody get started with it, even if they just want to do some basic research on it? I mean, obviously, we want to get them the Retire Smart roadmap and have them starting to come in, but you start Googling this information on your own, I think it's pretty easy to get lost quickly. So what is a kind of hybrid kind of policy or information you think would be safe for people out there to look and research?
I think what you should do first, talk to a specialist. When I say specialist, the retirement planner.
Okay.
And when you talk to a retirement planner, ask these questions. What happens when I need a long-term care? How is my income going to affect that? They say we plan today, you know, we are having $10,000 a month income coming in, but we are at the retirement age and like we need a long-term care. We are at 75 years old. And guess what? We're going to need another $5,000, $6,000. Is my budget going to allow me to be able to take that money out from our retirement accounts? And guess what? When you take that money out from your retirement accounts, you're going to have to pay taxes. And when you're going to have to pay taxes, that if you need to take out like $10,000 extra a month, guess what? You need $14,000, $15,000 to take out. do I have enough money?
Because we've got to pay the tax on top of it. So whatever we're paying on that.
Right.
So, and I think people do a lot of napkin math. They go, oh, I'm just going to take $1,200. I'll take it from my 401k.
Yep.
You're going to have to pay that tax rate on it. And where do you both see taxes going in the future, up or down?
Well, look, I think they're going to go up, right? And by the way, I've asked that question to a lot of people in the last about 6 months. I don't think I've met one person who says, hey, I think taxes are going to go down for all of us, right? And so this is why I'm glad you brought up the tax component to this, both of you, because it's not just about protecting yourself against long-term care, but it's all the other stuff that goes into that roadmap, right? Which is, if taxes go up in the future, that ultimately means that the government is reaching into our pockets a little bit deeper and taking more of our income away in retirement. Well, if that happens, are you going to have enough to not only live the way you want to live if everyone's healthy, but what happens if you do have a long-term care situation? If taxes are higher, there's less income, less resources for you to be able to deal with it. That is a huge point of concern for all of our listeners and the folks who watch the program, and for our existing clients. So.
Right. So, and we were talking about retiring with choice, and one of the things I want to know is kind of recognize out here, we don't have a lot of women recognized on our panel.
Right.
We realize they're going to be living longer. Taxes going through, is this something where it's just product driven, where we need to get this policy, or what about the rest of the income strategy? Do you help put this all together? What about Social Security? Does Social Security help you pay for some long-term care? I mean, can't you take part of that as well and divert it over there? The income strategy gets harder, and I just think when you're 80, you don't want it to be complicated. You want to know what your pathway is.
It's all about simplicity. You hit the nail on the head with that. You do not want it to be complicated. And so as a part of this Retire Smart roadmap is this Income for Life plan. What I love about this Income for Life plan is you come into our office. We have these big 70-inch TVs in our office. You look at one screen on that TV and you know exactly where your income is going to come from every single year for the rest of your life. And we do our very best to project it. So we'll say this much is coming from Social Security, this much is coming from your pension, this much is coming from your 401k withdrawal. And then we aggregate it so that you can compare your income minus the taxes to your expenses. And that way you know that you have enough coming in to live the way that you want to in retirement. And so this is why we put this Retire Smart roadmap together. Folks, you got to pick up the phone and give us a call. It's 833-308-5200. And it really starts with just having a conversation. If you're concerned that you don't have choices or that you won't be able to retire with choice, pick up the phone, come in to visit with us. It's totally complimentary. And have a conversation about whether or not you're on track for the retirement that you deserve after all these decades of hard work.
You know, we're going to talk about just a couple of income solutions and how it pertains to retiring with choice when we get right back from this. Folks, if you want to talk to two financial planners whose firm works as a fiduciary, meaning with your best interest in mind, and talk about retirement planning solutions, it is completely complimentary. All you've got to do is call the phone number you see right there, 833-308-5200, or you can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen. Pick up your phone, put it on photo, and you can go directly to a link, get right into their calendar, and go into their office. So more income solutions so you can retire with choice when we get back right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland with Ozzie, Culhagil, Prashant, Sabapathi, and I'm your host, Spike Spengel, and we're talking about how you get to retire with choice. And by choice, we're saying as we get into our older years throughout retirement, the beginning, that's the fun stuff, right?
Yes.
We're checking off things on the bucket list.
Yeah.
We're traveling or doing all of those things you wanted to do, being creative. But as we get older, we do need to take into account those healthcare ideas and the kinds of things that can limit us, and whether it's for us or for our spouse. And we've talked about some solutions and tools, but I want to veer it just a little bit. A lot of folks say, I think I've saved enough. I've got $500,000 in an IRA, or I've got $800,000 in a 401k, and you know, the house is paid off, so I think we've got enough. Is this all that people need to be considering when it comes to long-term care? You've had experiences with clients, you have experiences personally.
Yeah.
Is this the only things to consider?
So we have to look at your situation as a whole. So you might have enough money saved, but have we considered what's going to happen with tax rates? Have we considered, if you're married, this is a big one that I think a lot of folks do not think about. If you're married, what happens to your income if one of you passes away, right? Like, did you know that typically you'll lose the lower of the two Social Securities when one passes away? So I was meeting with one of our clients. They've been with us almost, 7 or 8 years. She unfortunately passed away. She was collecting about $30,000 of Social Security. He was collecting about 28 or so. And so even though she passed away, he lost his Social Security and took over hers. But that immediately created a $28,000 loss of income almost overnight.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty scary thing to go through, to not know where your income is going to come from if you're not prepared, right? And so part of this exercise, coming in to visit with a professional, and look, whether you come in and meet with us or you go meet with somebody else, I think you owe it to yourself to meet with a qualified professional who can help you understand and ask some of these questions that I think a lot of people are just not asking right now.
Ozzie, you were explaining to me once before that your firm works as a fiduciary. Can you explain a little bit of what that means, and how is that important to somebody when they're planning for their retirement? I mean, they get one shot at it, right? You probably want to make sure you're working with somebody who knows how to do retirement planning, right?
Yes, that is correct. And the important part is, like Prashant talks about it, the roadmap and so forth, right? We have to plan for the future. And when we plan for the future, you need to talk to someone about the retirement income. And that's what we do. We are all about income. And we want to make sure that you have enough income coming in when you retire. And we also want to make sure that we consider the inflation and so forth. So when we plan our retirement, we took an approach of different buckets. We have the money for the next 5 years, we have the money for the next 5 to 10 years, and we have the money for the 10 years and after. Mm-hmm. And when we make our plans, we want to make sure that we have enough money for the future. Even if inflation goes to 10%, we want to make sure that we have enough money.
I think you brought up a really good point there in working with a specialist, right? Mm-hmm. Someone who's specialized with, like, I come from a family of doctors. Everybody in my family is a doctor, right? My parents, my brother, except for me, right? Okay, but when I think about that, I think, okay, if I have a knee injury, who am I going to go see? Do I want to go see the orthopedic sports medicine doctor, or do I want to go see the cardiologist, right? Like, of course, I'm going to go see the person that's specialized. Why is your retirement any different? Mm-hmm. You might be working with an advisor, and if you are, that's great. It means that you've taken a very important step about being serious about your financial plan. But is the advisor you're working with an accumulation advisor, or are they a distribution advisor? Are they simply specialized in helping you grow your money to the biggest number, or are they specialized in helping that money last until the day you pass away so that you're comfortable in retirement? They might have the best intentions at heart, but are they specialized to accomplish for you what you need them to? And that's why it's so important to meet with a specialist, I believe.
You know, the good thing about your family is that You might not need every single one in your family who's a doctor, but every one of your doctors needs you.
Absolutely.
Right? Every one of them needs a financial plan. Now, what about for somebody out there who might be saying, I don't know if I'm ready to sit down with a financial advisor. I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if my estate is big enough. Do you weed people out, or if people are serious and worried about retirement, are you willing to help?
Look, this show that we do every week, it's all about education. It's all about empowerment. We want to empower folks to make the best decisions possible. And so if you have any concerns whatsoever, it does not matter how much you have saved for retirement. We don't look at people and assign a number to them, okay? They're people. Our viewers are people. And so when you come in to visit with us, we treat you like human beings, right? We address your concerns, and you get to know us. We get to know you. And it's really an opportunity to get your customized roadmap in place. So it's never too late to start. I know that's a little bit cliche, but it's true.
There are a lot of folks out there who might say, well, it's too late. This ship has passed me by, or I'm 65, I can't consider long-term care. But you could look at other income solutions, or as you were saying, even with these hybrid policies, is it possible to get the long-term care rider even if you're 60, 62, 65?
It's very possible. And when you said that it's never too late, it's never too early. You know, like for example, believe it or not,
that's a good point.
I do have my own hybrid policy. If I'm talking about this, that, you know, I'm talking about what I did for myself, the whole reason is I was young, I'm healthy, and so forth. So my premiums are like way low, and I start early. And you never know what's going to happen in 20 years, but you have to owe it to yourself just to explore your options to make sure what's available for you.
The other side of that coin I thought was really interesting is we were actually able to get a long-term care plan in place for like a 74-year-old the other day.
Really?
So if you're 65 or 67, you may be a little bit later to the game than you wanted to be, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're too late.
And are these the kinds of things that you can uncover with the Retire Smart Roadmap?
Absolutely. All it starts with having that conversation, because once we can identify your points of concern, the things that keep you up at night, then we're going to put that roadmap together to show you viable ways to address your concerns. We're going to fit solutions that are custom tailored to your problems, right? And so it all starts with having that complimentary, no obligation visit with us to get your Retire Smart roadmap together. The phone number is 833-308-5200. That's 833-308-5200. Or take a picture of the QR code and look at our calendar and get a slot, because they go really quick.
Never too late to retire with choice, never too early to start planning. I like both sides of the coin here. That's why we've got the two of you working together. Thank you so much, fellas. Thank you for watching Retire Smart Maryland. Make sure you get your own Retire Smart review, 833-308-5200. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again next week.